Welcome back to Crafting and Crime Daily. I am your host, Rebecca. I got my coffee. I'm ready to recap day 11 of the trial of Michelle Troconis. She's on trial for conspiracy to commit the murder of Jennifer Dulos. Now, Jennifer Dulos, her body was never found. And the one person that probably knows for sure where she is took his own life. After he was charged with murder and he was trying to get a bond that he could afford, uh, he he took his own life. So that leaves his girlfriend, Michelle Troconis, on the hook for conspiracy to commit murder. And the more I hear, the less I'm believing she knew anything about what happened to Jennifer Dulos. She's got a good lawyer, I will tell you that. Now, up till now, everything's playlisted. You can find that on YouTube under my, go to my homepage. You'll find the playlist. Also, this is available as a podcast on YouTube Music. You can go and find the list of the podcasts and choose which day you want to watch. There you go. But first, you want to subscribe and hit that notification bell. You want to hit all so you don't miss a single episode, and hit the thumbs up button. Thank you. All right. So what happened on day 11? Well, we got to see the second police interview for Michelle Troconis. So we'd already seen the first one. And I got to tell you, she is so difficult to understand. She has some kind of Hispanic background. English is not her first language. So very, very difficult to understand. And they did not, and this was a point made by the defense attorney, never offered her an interpreter, but she seems to have a fairly good grasp of the English language, but probably would have done better with an interpreter. So this interview, the first interview occurs on June 2nd, right after she and Fotis are arrested for tampering with evidence. And this one is 4 days later on June 6th. Now, during those 4 days, we know that the following day, June 3rd, after the first interview, the police get a search warrant and they search the home in Farmington that Michelle was living with her boyfriend, Fotis Dulos. They search that home, which is also his office, and in the mudroom, they find a computer bag. And inside that computer bag are 3 pages of what the police are titling a script or alibi script. In court, they are referring to it as the timeline. But now this is the second interview, and now I've heard her twice. She said it once in the first interview, and I heard her say it again in the second interview, that her attorney had asked them, well, maybe it wasn't her attorney, their attorney. I don't know if it's the guy that's sitting next to her, or if it was Kent Mulvaney, the attorney for Four Group, but she keeps saying the attorney asked them to write a timeline so they wouldn't, of the day of the 24th, the day of that Jennifer goes missing. And if she did, that makes sense that she knows what the times of everything are. But we're learning now in this second interview that things that she said during the first interview and that are consistent with the script, she lied about. Yeah. So and this second interview takes place at this attorney's office, the one that was representing her at the time of her initial arrest. So now by June 6th, she's bonded out. She's back home. The state attorney calls her attorney and says, we'd like to interview her again, because now they've got this script, they want to talk to her again. And my sense is that they wanted to see if they could get her to give them some vital information about the location of Jennifer and what happened to Jennifer. And if she had, they were going to offer her a deal. She never did. I mean, if the jury was looking for a confession, it didn't happen, neither in the first interview or the second interview that was shown. She didn't confess. We still don't know where Jennifer's body is. We we don't know what happened to her. Well, the police are telling her they know what happened to her. Something very traumatic happened to her because there's blood everywhere in the garage of the home that Jennifer was residing in. So the estate attorney calls her attorney to have this interview, sets up the interview, and at this, her attorney's name is Andrew Bowman. This is the attorney at the time. It's not the one that's representing her in this trial. So the police investigator that's on the stand, who the surveillance is coming into evidence through him, says that we got the phone call that Michelle Chaconis wanted to talk. So, but there were 4 police officers in that room. 4. And then 4 police officers, including the lead investigator, her attorney, Andrew Bowman, and then maybe a half hour into this lengthy interview, 3 hour interview, the state attorney comes in. Now, how intimidating is all of those people? My God. And they're all throwing questions at her, and they're like, there just was no organization. And I don't know if that's a tactic. Like, shouldn't it just be one person doing the interview and everybody else be quiet? But they were all like, they would throw out a question that had nothing to do with what the interviewer and she were talking about, and then the interview would go a different direction, and that could be a tactic. I don't know. I'm not schooled in the art of police interviews. Yeah. So we did discover that her daughter was 12 years old at the time of this event. So right away they let her know, hey, we searched the home that you were living at with uh, Fotis Doulos, and we found your script. We found the script. Now, we don't want you to tell us what's on the script. We want you to tell us what really happened. So she starts talking to them, and she said, well, at 12:59 on Thursday night, so, off the script, she she got a call from her daughter, who was scared, her 12-year-old daughter, who was scared because there was a thunderstorm. So she went to her daughter's room to sleep with her. And they're like, lady, we know there was no thunderstorm. She goes, well, it was raining. And they're like, no, it wasn't raining. There was 0 precipitation that night. We've looked it up. So at this point, the prosecutor stops the tape of the interview, and he asks the investigator, where did you get that information that was 0 precipitation? And he gave 2 different sources that he had checked that area of Farmington and found that there was between 12 midnight and 1 in the morning, there was no rain, 0 rain. So he's like, that's a lie. And then you hear her later on, so they restart the tape, and you hear her several times go, I don't know what to say, because everything I say you tell me is wrong. If I say it's 3 stops, you're gonna tell me it's 30 stops. If I, what can I say? So she said she slept with her daughter until 6:40 a.m., which is what the script says. 6:40 a.m. woke up, and she went and got in the shower with Fotis. She got in the shower, and then Fotis came and joined her in the shower. Well, the reason she knows it's 6:40 is because that was her usual routine. Her phone alarm goes off every day at 6:40. She said, my alarm was set for 6:40. It's always set for 6:40. Her daughter's alarm is always set for 6:35 because she has to get her up and get her ready for school. So that, I believed her on that part. I'll give you that one, okay? So then the part about him coming into the shower, she did admit that no, he didn't come into the shower that day. She didn't see him that day. And they said, well, why did you tell us that he got in the shower with you? And she goes, because he always gets in the shower with me. So what she was trying to express, very inartfully, I think, and that her defense attorney pointed out on cross-examination, is that her usual routine is she'll get in the shower and Fotis comes and join her. I think that's kind of cool, actually. Very sexy. And Fotis is such a sexy man. Oh, my God. He could have gotten in the shower with me anytime. Anyway, but she said that's her usual routine. She'll get in the shower, photos come, and she couldn't remember one way or the other. So she said she was saying what her usual routine is. I get in the shower, he gets in with me. That morning, he didn't get in the shower with her. So she, sorry, coffee, clear my throat. So she talks about the rest of her morning. She goes to school. She takes her daughter to school. She comes back home, and she says she sees photos with having this meeting with Kent, and they're like, "We know you didn't see photos. We know he wasn't there that morning. We know he wasn't there that morning." Okay, I didn't see photos, but I saw Kent Mulvaney, who's a co-conspirator, and I don't know when his trial is set for. He is an attorney that represented the Ford Group, which is a construction company owned by Fotis Dulos. So she said she went into that office, saw him at the far end of the office. So he was there. But she said the reason she said he was in a meeting with Mulvaney is because he had told her the night before that he had a meeting with Mulvaney. So she just assumed when she didn't see him that morning that that's where he was, in this meeting with Mulvaney. So bottom line is she didn't see him that morning until lunchtime. Now, in her first interview, she said lunch was between 1 and 2. And now she's saying, no, it was probably between 12 and 1. And this is probably the first time, she finally admits this is the first time she's seen photos that morning, around noonish. So then her attorney, this Andrew Bowman that was sitting there, says, well, she and I met before you guys got here, and she had a couple of drawings, and she wants to show them to you. So she explains that she's like, you guys I'm trying really hard to give you as much information as I can. And here's a couple of drawings that I did of places that we would go. Here's a drawing of this path behind their home on Jefferson where they would go motorcycling. She says, you're not allowed to do that, but we did that because there was a trail back there. And so I guess she's insinuating that maybe they should go look there. I don't know. And then there was the second piece of paper was they didn't show the pieces of paper, but the second piece of paper was her showing them all the different properties. Because that day she says Fotis asked her to come clean the 80 Mountain property. That was the address, 80 Mountain View, because they were going to have an open house that weekend. But he owned several properties in that area, either previously or currently. So she was showing them which ones he used to have and he sold, and so. But my gut feeling about that was it was a distraction. That way, if she was talking about that, she didn't have to talk about the 24th. And they kept trying to get her back. Let's go back to talk about the 24th. Let's go. Where's we want to know where's Jennifer. So after the second interview was shown to the jury, I don't think there was a third interview, and if they're going to show it, maybe they'll show it through a different witness, because the prosecutor finished questioning this witness, and then the defense had an opportunity to cross-examine him, and he asked about the thunderstorm story. And he says, I want you to see some surveillance video. And he goes, now, this didn't come from me. The prosecutors have this surveillance video. I'm not sure why they didn't show it, but this is a surveillance from the storage unit that Fotis owned very close to where they lived on Jefferson in Farmington. And there's a thunderstorm going on. Well, it's just raining very heavily. I didn't see any thunder, but it's raining very heavily. And he goes, is that rain? So it was raining in Farmington? Yes, it was. So she wasn't lying about that, apparently. There was a rainstorm. So I do want to tell you, though, at the end of the interview, she kind of breaks down. She's you can tell she's just had enough being questioned, because her and her attorney met for a while before they got there. And then she was questioned for another few hours, and she breaks down. She's crying. She says she hates Fotis for what he's for involving her, and she said at one point he had said to her, "Don't be surprised if you become the mother of 6." Yeah, can you believe he said that? Oh my word. Okay, so that's where the day ended for that trial. So we're all caught up there. But I want to talk about the Murdaugh trial, and I'm not going to make a separate video. I am going to cover day 3 of the Jennifer Crumley trial in a separate video, but I'm just going to put the Murdaugh trial right here, the Murdaugh hearing. Alex Murdaugh, the gift that keeps on giving. Alex Murdaugh, as you know, was convicted of murdering his wife Maggie and son Paul back in 2021 at their Moselle property. Now, he was an now infamous, used to be a lawyer in South Carolina, who at the time had been outed for swindling his many of his clients out of millions of dollars, his firm out of millions of dollars. And so his attorneys, good old Dick and Jim, Jim Harpootlian and Dick Griffin. Or is it Dick Harpootlian and Jim Griffin? Yeah, that's what it is. Anyway, they had filed a motion for a new trial based on communication between the clerk of court, Ms. Becky Hill, and they all call her Ms. Becky. Ms. Becky communicated with the jury and influenced them to vote guilty. So, of course, I was a little surprised this hearing went forward yesterday because I really it was not on my radar. The last I had heard, they were going to submit to the judge questions that they wanted her to ask the jurors. So my understanding is she questioned the jurors yesterday, and out of the 12, only one woman said that she had been influenced by something that Ms. Becky had said, and that influenced her to vote guilty. However, the judge had an interesting ruling at the end of this. Anyway, we'll get to that. But because when she said that, I thought, oh, does that mean he's going to get a new trial now? Oh no. Well, then the prosecutor or the attorney general who prosecuted the case against Alex Murdaugh, he got up and he was allowed to ask Ms. Ms. Becky some questions. And I, I didn't really feel sorry for her because, you know, that book she wrote a book about the trial, and it came out like very quickly right after that verdict, like too sweet. She had this book. She self-published the book. Maybe that's why it came out so quickly. I don't know. And I thought to myself when it came out that quickly, like, this is too soon. That's what I said to myself. This is too soon. She, this is not going to go well for her. And I actually downloaded it to Audible and started listening to it, and I hated it. It was just this. It just had a hometown flavor to it. It was how this had impacted their little town of Colleton County, and her feelings while performing her duties as the clerk of court, and her yeah. Anyway, so and since that book has come out, she has admitted to plagiarizing portions of that book, and it's no longer being sold. So she was asked. So the prosecutor, attorney general, was allowed to ask her questions, and then Dick Harpootlian got up and he's like, "You and I are friends, right?" She's like, "Well, of course we are." And he says, "And you do understand that I might get heated in some of my questions." Yes, I understand that. And I'm sorry. He's oh God, this guy. So he starts to ask her questions. And he's grilling her. He's grilling her. Well, didn't you say in your book that you thought he was guilty and the trial wasn't even over yet? when you went out to Moselle for the jury view, didn't you say you thought that convinced you that he was guilty? And she's like, well, that was literary license, Mr. Hop Hootlian. Um, and he's like, lying is literary license? Okay, anyway. She never said literary license. She kept saying literary, and then she couldn't figure out the word that went with literary. It's license. Yeah, that's the word, honey. And then the judge asked her some questions. And this judge, I loved this judge. It's an older female judge. And I had heard this judge during the previous hearing when she had said she was going to be the one to question the jurors. And I thought it was a guy because her voice is really low. And and they never showed the judge during that prior hearing. Now, if you're wondering what happened to Judge Clifton Newman, he has retired and he's riding his tricycle around South Carolina, like me. No, I don't live in South Carolina, but I have a tricycle and I am retired. So this new judge, she wasn't playing. She had read that book and she was asking Ms. Becky some questions about the book, and then she gave her ruling later on. She said that she had denied his. You're not getting a new trial. No new trial, Mr. Murdaugh. Um, but she said she did not find Ms. Becky to be credible, which I would agree. I would agree. Because Ms. Becky denied ever saying anything to those jurors. No, I did not have that conversation. No, I did not say that, Mr. Hoppootlian. I did not communicate that to the jury. No, sir. No, sir. I made sure they had coffee. I made sure we did Dunkin' Donut runs. I made sure they had bathrooms. No, I did not communicate with that jury. I'm just, it's exactly how she talks. Okay. So, and then she said, although, she had questioned the jurors, and she says she did not feel like their verdict in any way was influenced by any possible communication with Ms. Becky, even though the one juror had said she was influenced. So maybe the judge didn't find her credible either. I'm not sure. So now what happens, right? What happens now? It's not going to go away, people. Now it's going to go to the appellate court. Yes, the Supreme Court of South Carolina gets to hear it next. And I've heard these guys on the Supreme Court of South Carolina. They don't play either. There's going to be some questions flying. So I don't know if ultimately he's going to get a new trial or not. We don't know. It's over at the trial court level. Now it gets bounced up on appeal. So I hope Mr. Murdaugh enjoyed his couple of days out of prison in the local jail for the hearing. I must say, here's my comment. What goes on in these places? Because he's all svelte looking, muscular and thin, and because when you saw him the night of the murder, it's like this guy was, Porky Pig. He was, and now he's looking good, except he's got red hair. Sorry, he's just ugly. Um, versus when you look at Jennifer Crumley, who's been in jail for over a year, she looks like an old school marm. What's going on at the men's prison that is not going on at the women's prison? Like, somebody give that woman a hairbrush. Yeah. Anyway, that's just my opinion. Okay. Go back to prison, Mr. Murdaugh. We'll see you on the appeal. Well, he doesn't get to come to the appeal. No, he's just gonna stay in prison till he dies. He's never getting out. Never getting out. Because he was served on the murder charges. He's serving time on the financial crime charges. He's serving time on the federal financial crimes. Like, he's just never going to see the outside of a prison unless he gets to happen to come to the local, hearings now and then. So he can smile and say hi to everybody. Okay. All right, guys. I will see you tomorrow for the next episode of the Jennifer Crumley trial. And I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.